I'm Kris Kobernat, and today I'm going to show you our Operations Insights solution, and specifically how we can use that for satellite providers. So with Operations Insights, one of the things that we're able to do with our entire solution is contextualize QE and metrics across the end-to-end system by subscriber, by device, by plan, by satellite beam, many other attributes. In this particular case, what we have is we have 3 satellite beams and we want to compare their performance. And we can see that there's one particular beam that stands out, has a much lower score than the other beams, which is this PAD1-A1. To understand why it has a low performance, we can of course look at different metrics, and here we're looking at the packet loss metric, and we see that the PAD1-A1 beam has a much higher packet loss than the other beams, which could indicate a signal interference type of issue, which can occur in a satellite network if you have extreme weather conditions or other things that could be going on in the satellite system to interfere with the signal. The next demonstration I want to show is how we can help in the satellite providers in the commercial aviation space, specifically with Operations Insights, and show you how the contextualization of QE and metrics can be spread across the entire end-to-end system, so we can have QE and metrics contextualized by subscriber, by device, by airplane tail number, by aircraft model, by satellite beam, by the airline. About any dimension you want to see, we can put the metrics across those dimensions. So this is a situation where we want to compare performance across various airplane tail numbers, which is basically a particular airline flight. So we start off with choose the LEO satellite network to look at, and we'll then look at the different vessel IDs, which we have the different aircraft tail numbers. We can select a range of those aircraft tail numbers, and then see how the QE score is performing over time with each of those aircraft tail numbers. In this particular case, we see that there's an issue with this PH-A0A tail, and we can see how that's performing over time. We can look at different metrics, such as subscriber count. We can look at their jitter. Looks like there's also one of the air flights is standing out from a jitter perspective, so we can also see which one. It's the same, happens to be the same aircraft tail number. And same thing with the inter-packet arrival time downstream. We can also see that it's an outlier compared to the other aircraft tail numbers. And of course, when we have an issue like that, we may want to go and say, we know we have an issue with the airplane tail number, but we want to know who's impacted by that. How many subscribers are impacted? What was the experience of each subscriber? So we can drill down from this page and see who's actually impacted. We can see that there was a total of 16 subscribers with 8 that were impacted. We can see the list of the subscribers that were impacted. We can see all of the different metrics that are relevant to them. We can even choose other metrics that weren't shown there. This next example, we want to compare the performance across different aircraft models. And here we can see that we have like the Boeing 737, and we can see the performance, the score for each aircraft model. We can look at the different metrics for each aircraft model, whether it's latency, throughput, packet loss, subscriber count. There's a whole extensive list of metrics that we can see. Here we'll choose another metric such as jitter. We have both internal jitter, external jitter we can look at. We could choose another metric such as packet rate. We have upstream packet rates, downstream packet rates we can look at. And of course we could even look at, obviously if we look at the upstream, we can also look at the downstream and see how all those metrics are performing across those aircraft models. In this next example, we'll compare across airlines. And a particular airline has been complaining that their customers have been having a poor experience. And we can go into the metrics to help understand why those subscribers are having a poor experience. We can select multiple airlines, see how they're comparing, see that one particular airline was underperforming the others, and then look at some of the metrics to see, well, what metric is unique for that particular airline. And we see in this particular case, they have a overall higher latency than the other airlines, and we were able to determine from that there was a connectivity issue was not optimal to that airline. And this actually came from an actual case we were working with a particular customer. The other things that we can do with the Ops Insights product is to to drill down to understand what's happening with individual subscribers. And I showed you the individual subscriber level. We're going to take another level deeper, where we'll do an automatic diagnosis of a subscriber issue. So a customer calls in, they complains that their Netflix is not performing well. We can automatically capture their ID, take that ID, append it into the URL, making it very easy to integrate with the customer relationship management system. And a click will take the customer care agent directly to a page where they can view that subscriber. So the subscriber, in this particular case we were looking at, you can see the subscriber ID. They give an automatic diagnosis. In this particular case, the diagnosis was that the subscriber has exceeded the throughput threshold. We can see that they were exceeding it roughly 18% of the time. If there were additional plans available where the subscriber could upgrade to, it would also give another flag and indicate that there's a revenue opportunity there, that they can have an upsell opportunity, and I'll show you that as we move along. We can also see what applications the subscriber was using at that time, what was the score for each of those applications. Here we see the volume metric, but we could look at many different metrics. Any of the metrics we can see, we could also take a look at. Getting to the automatic diagnosis capabilities. I mentioned that that particular issue was subscriber specific. They were exceeding their threshold. If there were plans available, you would also see another flag that would say that there would be a revenue opportunity for that particular subscriber, and the operator would know to offer them that to improve their performance, that they actually need more bandwidth to get a high quality experience. In addition to that, not only do we detect whether there's a subscriber specific issue, if it's not something subscriber specific, we can tell whether it's an internal network issue or something going on outside of the network. If it's an internal network issue, we'll also try to pinpoint exactly where in the network the issue is occurring, which is obviously very helpful for teams that are troubleshooting. But one of the reasons why we break the subscriber diagnosis into these 4 different buckets is because if something's subscriber specific, typically that care agent's going to want to work with that subscriber directly and individually. If there's something going on inside the internal network and we pinpoint where that is, a lot of times there'll be specific teams that will be dealing with, that are responsible for that particular network element, and they can open up a ticket and route that to that particular team to say, hey, there's something going on with this particular network, and another team gets engaged. And then of course, if it's an external issue, what the operator will want to do is they'll want to explain to them that they know that there's something going on externally to the system, the application provider is having an issue, and that they can redirect that person to the source of that issue and very quickly deal with the case that the customer complaint that's been called in. Of course, all this is extremely valuable for reducing the handling times of when customer complaints occur, but it also can be very helpful too for reducing churn, right, and keeping customers satisfied. When you can diagnose their issues quickly, get to them with a quick resolution, they're of course going to be much more satisfied. And so that's the end of this presentation. What I'll do now is I'll move on from the Operations Insights, and we'll take a look at some of the proof of concept we're working on with a system called the AI App Analyst. And this is an example here, same use case where we had a Netflix issue, but the person calls in and they don't recall exactly when the issue occurred. The first thing that you want to probably understand is, well, when did the issue occur? Well, the AI analyst can answer that question. We can type in the question in natural language, right? When did the average Netflix score drop for that particular subscriber? And then, of course, we can ask the AI analyst to tell us when that occurred. So in this particular case, as we look at it, the issue occurred at 2:30 or 14:30 military time. We can see the same thing if we go into Ops Insights. We look at the different applications, look at the different scores, look at the scores specifically for Netflix at the different time intervals, and we can see at, yes, 14:30, we saw that there was a dramatic drop in the quality of experience. Of course, the AI analyst, as we said, has the answer is 2:30. But we also may want to know how long did the issue last. Well, the AI analyst can also answer that for us. We can put the question in natural language, and it'll come back and give us the answer to that. We saw that it was going from 14:30, 15:30, 16:30. So it occurred over 3-hour intervals, and of course the AI analyst was able to tell us the 3 hours. The next thing we want to know is once we have an issue like this, we've identified when the issue started, we identified how long it lasted. We want to know what was going on when the person was experiencing the issue. And so we want to know what were the main applications that they're running when that issue occurred. Earlier we saw with Ops Insights that there was a congestion issue where they were exceeding their threshold. Now we want to break down what were the apps that the person was running. We can see that they're trying to run BitTorrent, PlayStation, Google, Netflix, all simultaneously, which all of those are extremely bandwidth hungry type of applications. Unless they have a very high speed plan, there's a good chance they're going to have congestion, which was what we saw with the Ops Insights, that it did diagnose that. And of course we can see those in a bar chart, so we can look at the tooltips and see what the volume was happening across those. Here we go back into Ops Insights and we can see that yes, the same data we saw from the AI analysts we're seeing in Ops Insights. In Ops Insights though, we instead of consolidating it together, we actually have it per hour, and we can see that the same applications we saw before were the issue. Of course, why was this subscriber experience poor? Basically, the subscriber was trying to consume more bandwidth than they had purchased, and of course, that's going to negatively impact the performance they receive from applications like Netflix and really all the applications they're trying to run. And you can see again the operations insights. We could look at the total volume traffic. We could look at the threshold that was crossed, basically telling us that they exceeded their throughput threshold. And so why did the customer experience an issue? Well, it was self-congestion. Subscriber, if there were plans available, they could use a plan upgrade. That's all.